Good evening. This is Ronald Allen with Managing Change, and the discussion on the table is let's elevate the species. I did a montage about a month, 2 months ago, put it up on the web of characters and dignitaries, social and community stakeholders. And over the last 2 months or so, I've got a lot of information, a lot of feedback, a lot of comments. Well, if you go to the site ronaldmallen.com, go over to resources, and look at the blog that starts up with the term or the heading, Let's Elevate the Species. I also posted it, I believe, on Google, Facebook, even on LinkedIn, and of course, the feed went to Twitter. And a lot of the comments I heard regarding this was, well, what has this got to do with managing change with effective communications? Well, I was a little surprised that people thought it had nothing to do with it, because these were leaders, statesmen, again, social and civic-minded stakeholders who communicated their belief, their need to help, to contribute, to uplift others, and to begin to replace, shall we say, repressive regimes. And I wanted to address that in the following way. I know a lot of people start off by saying we are being subjected to. Unfortunately, that direction in conversation does not endear nor create collaborative interests by the majority of people, humans, people who are going about their daily lives. What is also interesting is that the strategy that these concerned citizens, humanitarians, if you wish, many of them were, begins to pull together the need to broaden our understanding of how we communicate, what is the effect of that communication, and does it again divide and separate, as opposed to informing others that this is a process whereby we're constantly being marginalized. So let me kind of jump into this. If you want, you can certainly look up, and I went to my site because it's just an easier site to get to, but certainly on Google, LinkedIn, my site, ronaldmallen.com, go over to resources. You don't have to type in your name or anything on the registration page, just click that off. Go over to resources, jump down to blog, Ronald's blogs, and then Let's Elevate the Species. I think it's the third or fourth one. I haven't been doing too many blogs. I will start to, promise. And you're going to see a picture of people like Jorge Mario Bergoglio. Now, how many of you know that Jorge Mario Bergoglio is actually referred to as Pope Francis? He's of Brazilian descent. He is the latest pope. And what's interesting is that he doesn't have the name Francis. At least this is from this little research that I quickly did. He is the head of the Catholic Church. It is a big deal. It sends a message. And what is interesting is in that communication of not using his natural name, what are we actually saying? What are we actually believing in? It's not questioning the theology. It is the way that we select to represent individuals with a name that hold very high office in socially recognized, globally recognized positions. Now, you might say, not an issue. Okay, let's say we bought that argument, however you placed it, however you framed it. And let's go a step further when we're in the weeds of everyday life. And someone comes up to you and says, my name is Shula Musakanya. Now, that's a gentleman I went to school with, and I loved his name. I thought it was very rich. My name is Ronald M. Allen. wonderful. There's about 20 pages at the time in the white pages of the phone book, the one that was 2-3 inches thick back in the day, TET 60. And very common name. Also went to school with a gentleman called Kajda from Poland. And we didn't abbreviate their names. We learned to pronounce and spell their names. When we address them accordingly. What does that say about the need to get on with that relationship? Because after all, a name, an address, a salutation, if you write letters, if you text, if you send email, you're writing a salutation. What does that say about us? Is the speed at which we communicate as important as how we frame our message? And here's an interesting twist to that. When Twitter came out with its 140, 170 characters, many people were like, how am I going to send my message? And I, for one, comes from an essay background. I was like, well, this is ridiculous. What I subsequently learned, though, is that the tweet was to gain attention. The attachment link syncing was to then expand, allow you to go and see more. You had to still follow a protocol, an etiquette. I think, personally, names should remain whole. Okay, we have another gentleman here. If you're looking on the web, again, you can certainly go onto LinkedIn, just type in let's elevate the species, and I'm sure this article will come up because it's the only one with a graphic. It's almost like a pictorial. It is a pictorial. It's a montage of these people's faces. The second one is Barack Hussein Obama. Now that, it was very controversial. What is interesting is that in America, and certainly in the West, if we subscribe the pre-decided opinion of someone's name, we would push back without validating that it's just a name. Yes, it was a name that was vilified, Hussein. Yes, it was a name that was attributed to an individual that some subscribed to as a negative. On the other hand, there are many names throughout history. My wife's name, Miriam, Sea of Sorrows. Yet many people do not even know that it related to that life of pain and suffering that a character had been subscribed to. That was the name. And there are many other names. You, I'm sure, have terms that in your life you have seen. Then I went on to, and you'll see Aung San Suu Kyi. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Here's a woman in formerly Burma who had fought the Chinese, and was interesting because there were many other government global forces who impacted the country because of trade.